Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
We're back. It's episode 104 of the Brunch and Judge.
It is 104.
You know, as we get higher up in numbers, I have less things to be like, the thing. And
I know, right?
It gets really...
We're also coming up on like what year?
It's almost the end of our second year doing this. Isn't that crazy?
I know, right?
It's crazy.
That's nuts.
It is nuts. Anyway, we are your hosts. I'm April.
And I'm Claire.
And this week we are going to bring you some fun, paranormal, true crime, weird stories about lighthouses.
Yes.
Yay! All right, so this week Claire goes first. Claire, what lighthouse story have you brought us this week?
I'm going to be talking about the lighthouse on Tybee Island.
I've been there.
You've been there.
I have a very lighthouse-centric family. We like to go to lighthouses. Dad's a big fan of lighthouses, so we often go to anyone that's close by on vacation.
I've never been to one.
You know what? When you come visit me, we're going to go to all the lighthouses.
All the lighthouses.
All of them.
All. Every single
one I can find at a reasonable distance. Definitely have to go to there's one that's beautiful that's up in Maine that I went to, I don't know, 15 years ago at this point when I lived in Boston, but it's beautiful. And it's the one that you see all over because it photographs so well. So yes, we are going lighthouse hunting when you come.
Sweet. I'm down.
Yay.
I'm down.
Okay.
Yay.
Tybee Island Lighthouse.
Yes.
Yay.
This particular lighthouse is one of 7 surviving colonial lighthouses.
Oh.
Lighthouse towers. Now the one that's standing has obviously had a lot of work done to it.
Fair.
Because of things that happened to it. But anyway.
Also, the ocean is mean.
Yeah. So are storms. Anyway. This is like the 4th iteration, the one that's standing now. The first iteration was ordered by General James Oglethorpe, who was the governor of the 13th colony, Georgia. Which I'm just like, the fact that we're like still in the colonies, we're like, this is like pre-Revolutionary War.
Nice.
It's an old lighthouse. It was 1732. And back then, they weren't really lighthouses. They were called daymark buildings because they didn't actually have lights in them.
Oh.
Like this one, it was daymark house. It didn't have a light in it.
What was its purpose?
It was like for sailors to see during the day, like to like guide them during the daytime.
Oh, so it was more like a brain's not working landmark to be like, oh, there's the blah blah blah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Because I was like daymark, and it was like lighthouse with no light, and I'm like,
so you're not a lighthouse. Got it.
Right.
Cool.
Right. Yep. It was built in 1736. This particular one was octagonal in shape, and it was made of brick and cedar, and this one was 90 feet tall. It just kept getting bigger. This bigger is better.
Always.
Always. This was the tallest structure of its kind, and it said America, but I'm like, we weren't really America yet. So in the colonies. In the colonies. But obviously storms did their damage to this particular building. And only 5 years later, they had to build a new daymark building. And that was commissioned. And while the new structure was being built, the old one was eventually completely swept away by a storm. Like, just gone. Because they were building a new one, I guess, like near it, and it was just like the first one was just like, and gone.
I guess it's a helpful way to get rid of debris.
I guess.
Debris.
I was just like, no,
well, now we don't have to clean it up. The ocean did it for us. Thanks,
yes,
ocean.
That happened in 1741. Good Lord. 1741. So in 1742, the second daymark was completed. And this one was 4 feet taller. It was 94 feet tall. And this one had a flagstaff on it, I guess, to make it even more visible. And 6 years later, this one started to have problems with like sand erosion near the foundation, and the sea was like getting closer and closer. They tried to support the foundation better by putting piles in the sand, and that just like delayed the inevitable a little bit. But yeah, the sea eventually wound up reaching the building, so they're like, yeah, we need to build a whole new structure.
Let's build a new one.
Yeah, and I'm like, who is planning these things? Like, are you not taking these things into account? Like the ground.
Maybe they didn't have enough science yet.
Maybe not. I'm just thinking, like, sand is not stable ground to build on. Why would you do that?
Right?
I don't know. That's just me. I don't know. But in 1768, still before the Revolution, the Georgia Assembly authorized the construction of a new structure. They obviously decided to do what they should have done in the first place and move the site far away enough from the ocean. So New Daymark was completed in 1773. And in 1790, after the Revolution, Georgia Assembly ceded the building over to the federal government. And the U.S. Lighthouse establishment, which I didn't know that was a thing, took over, and they converted it into an actual lighthouse. So started out, it had what was it? What were they called? Spermaceti candles is what they used. Spermaceti candles.
Spell that.
SPERMACETI.
Okay. Is it like made of sperm whale?
I don't know.
I mean, that's the time in which they were like, whale parts are great. So I don't know.
But cool. This structure, this new one, it was 100 feet tall, made from wood and brick. So, and then eventually they upgraded it to oils and lamps and used the mirrors and all those things that were traditionally used in other lighthouses. Then the Civil War happened.
Yay!
In 1861, Confederate soldiers set fire to the structure.
But why?
To prevent Union soldiers from using it to guide their ships into port.
Did they try just like turning it off?
I don't know. So it didn't destroy the whole thing. It only destroyed the top 40 feet of it and the wooden stairs. So after the war, the lighthouse, they decided to just restore the lighthouse. They're like, well, the bottom 60 feet were fine. Which I'm like, how did that happen? They just destroyed the top 40 feet. Like, did they just run to the top and set the fire? And like
it just burned out? Like, I don't know.
Weird. You just ran to like the midway point and set the fire, and I don't know how that worked. But the bottom 60 feet were intact, so they're like, let's just build up from what is good and replace that part. So they rebuilt the top portion. They used brick and metal that time to kind of make it a little bit more fireproof, and that's the lighthouse that stands today.
Oh,
the one that was rebuilt after the Civil War.
Well, there you go.
So that's the one that people tour today. So, oh, by the way, sorry, I just looked at the top of my page. My sources are Wikipedia, TybeeLighthouse.org, OnlineAthens.com, and LifeOfSailing.com.
Life of Sailing. Okay.
Yes. So during the 19th century, which I mean, obviously hurricanes and stuff hit there, but during the 19th century, several hurricanes off the coast of Georgia sent dozens of ships to the bottom of the ocean. Apparently, this was a thing that people don't really talk about a lot, or it's not like super well known, like all the ships that went to the bottom of the ocean, like off the coast of America. And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like I don't ever hear about stuff like that.
Well, I assume it's like, I mean, Jason and his family live on what they call like the Treasure Coast because there's so many shipwrecks that happened.
I've seen like, Becky post about that.
And I'm like, why don't we talk about this more?
Right. Yeah. You're like
a shit ton of ships out there that have, you know, sunk
at the bottom of the ocean
out there. And you're like,
right.
Cool.
Yeah. You're like, okay, awesome. And obviously Tybee Island saw its fair share. One of those was in 1780. HMS Defiance was a 64-gun British warship sank off the coast of Tybee. Also, there were many like undocumented, when I say undocumented, I mean like officially undocumented shipwrecks and sinkings from the Civil War. You know, like the Ironside ships and all that, you know, like in the rivers and on the little tributaries and all that. Like, and I'm just like, I don't ever think about that. Because you don't think about the Civil War having ships, really.
No, I mean, like, I get it. But also,
we fought this on land?
Mostly a land thing, but it really wasn't, I guess.
Right. And I'm just like, yeah, that's not something I think about. That's not my Roman Empire. No, it's not.
It is not.
No, it's not. So this is where the ghosty things come into play.
Yay!
Because of the shipwrecks where there were so many around the area, they talk about how you could see some of those lost souls just kind of wandering around the island around the lighthouse. And I'm like, that's a little disconcerting.
I don't want that.
No. Me neither.
I mean, like,
not
so
at all.
Is that how it works? If you die in the ocean, then you just kind of find the next available piece of land to kind of wander aimlessly about? Because that.
But also, I have to wonder, like, some of those people, if they get off the ship and they make it to land, but then they die from injuries on land, is that how that works?
I can't.
You know what I'm saying?
I need the rules. What are the rules here, guys? Like.
I don't know.
Because otherwise, are you just like trapped? Like Titanic. Are you just trapped on Titanic? Or did you get to like drift off to Nova Scotia or Iceland or wherever was closest?
Wherever, like the closest land.
I have no concept of where that stupid.
Or are you haunting the closest iceberg? Like, is that how that? Do you
works? Like, or are you just like hanging out on top of the water and you're just like wandering around on? Like walking on water or treading, like what is it?
I don't know. Remember the last lighthouse story I told? There was like some portal to like let lighthouse keeper, like the lighthouse keepers have a party. You know, it was like, what? Wait, I'm confused.
Right. So like, if they get to have a portal to hang out together, surely that like the poor souls, because it's always souls, on boats, you know, like surely they're not stuck there, right?
Right. I don't know. But yes, you see some of the lost souls from these shipwrecks are stuck lingering around the lighthouse. And I'm just like, why? That's yeah. Also, I guess because lighthouses have been around since forever and there's so many like lighthouse keepers and families that have gone through, that's probably why they're haunted. I don't know. But staff members have reported seeing a man at the first assistant keeper's house just like hanging out. And I'm just like, guess he just didn't want to leave. He loved his job so much.
I mean, fair, I guess. I mean, if you're happy there, who am I to say get out? Other than like, stop haunting me.
Right. Our favorite, hearing footsteps when no one's there.
Ugh.
That's our favorite. Another favorite is people have heard whistling at the head keeper's house, and then like somebody like trying to open the front door.
No.
Like it rattles on its own.
No.
Like somebody's trying to get in, and I'm
but also, like, I really hate whistling, and I didn't know that about myself.
You didn't know that? When did you discover that you hated whistling?
Know that about myself. But it's very specific, because, like, my dad is allowed to whistle. That's fine.
Your dad whistles a lot.
No one else is allowed to whistle, and I cannot explain why. Because every once in a while, someone will start whistling, and I'm just like, no, you have to stop that right now.
Your dad whistles a lot.
And it doesn't bother me at all. Like, at all. So the fact that I hate literally every other person in the world whistling is hilarious to me.
I know, right? It
Stupid whistling.
Yeah. There are reports of a small girl around 5 years old running down the stairs, warning visitors not to go up any further. And I'm like, no thanks.
But why? Why not, little girl? What awaits for me up
there? It
didn't say
why. It didn't say why.
I mean, if I could contain my fear of seeing a ghost child who could speak to me.
Because I know that's another one of your favorites is seeing ghost children.
Children are terrifying, dead or alive. So, like, ugh. But, I mean, if I could get over my initial, holy fuck, ghost child that may or may not be a demon, depending on how you feel about that, stopping and talking to me, could I then be like, but why? Like,
can you tell me what is up there?
Can you tell me why? Like, let's add to my fear a little bit more, and you just go ahead and tell me why.
Can I talk to you? Can we have a conversation?
It's like, don't touch me, though. You stay there. I don't want that.
And then, last but not least, one of the lighthouse keepers, his name was George Shaw. In 1887, apparently he had a tragic death. I couldn't find any specifics on why it was tragic or what happened. But apparently it was also suspicious. I don't know how it was suspicious, but there were rumors of foul play because it was suspicious, and people suspected his first assistant of murdering him.
Fair.
And that was a thing. And I was like, I tried to find more. I really was. And it was just like, I could not find any more specifics on it. I was like, I need more specifics.
I feel like, you know, when it comes to, we've put these people on an island and make it really hard to reach them frequently.
Right.
That we try and hush how terrible things can be.
Right. So I couldn't find like how he died, like why it was suspicious, I couldn't even find the first assistant's name. I was like, I need to know. But they say his ghost is said to linger in the lighthouse, and sometimes you can see his apparition out front, or you can hear him walking around inside. So he's probably the footsteps that you're hearing. But yeah,
I'm just trying to decide.
Apparently he didn't leave when he died.
I'm trying to decide what it says both about you as a person and also about whether or not the afterlife is just a version of hell. That when you die, you're stuck at your job forever.
We've had this conversation before. Like, why would you haunt your job?
I mean, like, I get you spend a lot of time there. And sure,
I guess because he lived there, that was his home.
Well, but, you know, still though.
He didn't have anywhere else to go.
Well, like, it's not like any place he lived before. Again, the Louvre, go literally anywhere. Why would you? Why are you staying?
If those are the rules, and you can go anywhere,
yeah,
go haunt a museum.
Dude, I am going all over the place looking at all the things. I'm here for it. Give me the Louvre. It would take me eternity to find everything and to see it all. So that's my choice.
Noted. But yeah, so that is a little brief history and some hauntings of the Tybee Island Lighthouse.
I love
Tybee
it.
Tybee Light is what it's called.
Tybee Light. I think I can't remember at this point. All lighthouses run together for me.
Right.
I've been to a few.
You've been to a lot.
But like some of them you can go in and like walk up to the top, and that might be one that you could go to the top of Tybee Island. I have a button somewhere that's like, I got to the top of some lighthouse. It might have been that one, but I don't remember.
Right. Yeah.
I always feel like I would like the concept of being a lighthouse keeper because I hate people.
Because you hate people. And
I love the idea of being surrounded by the ocean. And at this point, it's all automated, so you don't really do anything anyway. You're just kind of there. So I'm like, cool. But, I mean, I don't need ghosts there with me.
No.
So. That was excellent, Claire. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yay.
Hooray. But yeah, I was wondering about that too when I was like, some of the souls from the shipwrecks were, I'm like, but they didn't live there. I was kind of like you, like, what are the rules of this?
I mean,
haunting business.
I just want some at least general guidelines. Like maybe there are no like hard and fast rules, but there are probably things that like, well, if you don't make a decision, this is kind of what happens. Like, oh, okay.
So that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, what if some of these people actually survived the shipwreck and made it to the land
and made it to Tybee Island,
made it to like got to shore and then died of injuries later. That's what I was thinking. Like maybe that's what it was.
Well, it's like if you die in sight of land, are you able to just like be there? I don't know.
I don't know.
Don't know the rules.
I don't either. Maybe you make your own rules.
Ooh, I like that.
Make your own rules. That's my kind of game. Make your own rules.
That's how it should be. That is how it should be.
Yes. Well, what lighthouse are you going to be talking about?
I'm going to be talking about Seguin. It's kind of like Sequin, but with a G. Seguin Island Lighthouse.
Okay.
I got my information from newenglandlighthouses.net, seguinisland.org, and of course, good old Wikipedia. Where would we be without it?
He's a good old faithful. He is.
So Seguin Island is off of the coast of Maine at the mouth of the Kennebec River. The island itself rises more than 100 feet above the sea and is about 64 acres in size. So not tiny, not a tiny, tiny island, but not like super big either. So the island itself was sort of first discovered in, discovered. We'll ignore the people who had always lived here and knew everything already.
Right. We're just, yeah. They don't
discover. No. First discovered in August of 1607 when the English founders of the Popham colony, which I'd never heard of, anchored on this island before they ended up going to the mainland of America.
Yay.
In 1612, Samuel de Champlain sailed by this island and said that to him it looked like a giant tortoise.
Oh, nice.
I don't know, it was kind of cool. But Seguin is the corruption of, and they called it an Indian word. Indigenous peoples were, I have no idea to what tribe. There's a lot that were in that area, so who knows. So they said it was a corruption of a word that either means hump, or place where the sea vomits.
Well, nice.
And I'm like, okay, place where the sea vomits.
So you could just put it all together and be like, place where the sea vomits a hump. So.
Or the hump where the sea vomits.
Sea vomits, yeah.
In June of 1786, so after we had decided that we were a country now, yay us, and we were free, 55 local merchants petitioned the General Court of Massachusetts for a lighthouse on Seguin Island in order to save vessels from shipwrecks. It was a pretty arduous area. At the time, Maine did not exist. It was all part of Massachusetts.
Gotcha.
And at this time, there were only 3 lighthouses north of Boston, so it was a pretty dark coastline.
So it needed some help.
It needed some help. But so America was busy learning how to America. Because it was 1786. And so it wasn't until May of 1793 that President George Washington finally approved it. Yay! In October of 1796, an octagonal wooden lighthouse tower on a stone foundation was completed.
Nice. They're all octagonal.
Octagonal.
Yep.
They also had a one-story wood frame dwelling for the lighthouse keeper and their family or assistants or whatever. And the very first keeper of Seguin Island Lighthouse was Major John Polarezki, who was a Hungarian hussar and count.
Wow.
Hussar meaning he was apparently in the cavalry or something like that. I had to look it up. I was like, What is this word? He had actually been born in France and had fought with the French troops in the American Revolution. So
okay. I was like,
yeah, gotcha. It's random. But his family was of Hungarian nobility that dated back to 1613. So like weird that he became a lighthouse keeper.
Gotcha.
But he said, and I quote, "I am willing to sacrifice the pleasures of society to the fulfillment of the duties of that office." I don't.
Okay.
I mean, like, I get it. You're a couple miles away from the quote-unquote mainland, but, like, okay.
Like, calm down.
But also, like, you are nobility. What the hell are you doing over here?
Yeah, that's like, I don't get it.
It's, yeah.
Why are you being a lighthouse person now? I don't understand.
But even though he was willing to sacrifice the pleasures of society, within 3 months, he was already asking for a raise.
Ah, there it is.
And he was denied.
There it is.
6 months later, he asked for a raise again. And he was denied again. So at this point, the salary was $200 a year.
Damn.
And he complained that, again, quote, "I have but one cow here for my family and 1 ton of hay I purchased for her delivered to the house. It cost me $20, and so it is with all the necessities of life until I can raise them." And I'm like, what the hell? Okay. $20 out of 200 is, I mean, I don't know. Do you need more than one cow? I'm not good at this. How many cows do you need?
The year? I don't know. Like $20. If you get $200 for the year, like I can see $20. Yeah, that's.
I mean, it's a chunk, but I'm also like, you know, there's always moving costs, you know,
right,
to settle. So I'm like, okay. But even though he asked for a raise twice and was denied twice within the first year, he ended up staying for 8 years. So I'm like, all right.
Okay.
In 1804, Jonathan Delano became the lighthouse keeper, and he too complained a lot about it because the dwelling at that point was already very leaky and was in need of great repair. And is like, it's not been that long, guys.
Like, this is some shoddy craftsmanship, y'all. Fix it.
In 1812, they installed new lamps in the lighthouse, and he claimed that they were defective and complained about them. And by 1819, which, you know, is no time at all.
Right.
The tower had deteriorated so much it had to be rebuilt.
Probably because they're building this shit out of wood.
Yeah, it's fair. And unlike in your story, they made it smaller this time.
Okay. So bigger is not always better.
It's not. It's not always better. In 1837, they added a fog bell, and the tower was again already in bad shape. So, like, it's just a bad time. Like, it was not well built ever. They did install yet another new fog bell in 1854, but in 1857, they built a new tower out of stone, and this time it was taller. And they got the best light that was available at the time to install it because maritime traffic in that area was really heavy. Like, it's a very populated area. Like, we're in mid-1800s at this point. We're moving and a grooving.
Right.
And they also built a new keeper's dwelling because, you know, everything was falling apart. But then what's weird is that for the next 31 years, they started having problems with fog. So in the 31 years after that, 15% of the time it was foggy, which is a lot of time.
Oh my gosh.
But bizarrely, in 1907 was like super foggy year. 31% of the year was foggy.
Oh my word.
Right? Which meant that they needed to install a new steam-driven fog signal that would sound an 8-second blast every minute when it was foggy. And it was so extra that
sounds extra. Could you imagine every minute you got to hear like for 8 seconds?
I know.
Oh my God. I can't imagine living around there. I'd be like,
no. Well, and so, like, one lighthouse keeper claimed that the vibration was so loud and so strong that it would knock seagulls out of the air.
Oh, God. Oh, my gosh.
And there were times when it could be heard 14 miles away.
Wow.
Like, they went totally over the top on this thing. Like, what the hell are you doing?
I'd be like, we're moving.
I'm like,
we are moving.
You'd go deaf if you lived there. There'd be no way. No way.
Like, this noise pollution? No, we're done.
Hard pass.
Out of here. No, we're done.
Boy. Okay. In 1895, they decided that the island was so steep and it was hard for them to move supplies that came by boat up to the lighthouse and the dwellings, that they installed a tramway system.
Ooh,
which is cool. It's about 1,000 feet of tracks, and they had like an engine that would truck it up. So,
oh, that's fancy.
It was fancy. So you weren't having to push it up. It was all fancy like that. In 1903, this is one of those weird, odd things I just felt the need to share. Herbert Spiney became the principal keeper of the lighthouse. And he was super into birds. Like, super into birds. So he collected and mounted specimens of birds, their eggs. He also would collect butterflies, minerals, corals. He was just, enthusiastic.
I was like, he was an enthusiast.
He was an enthusiast. He was also super into photography. So he had a camera and would develop his own prints. And he filled the dwelling with his collection of things, basically from floor to ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
And in 1904, the Boston Globe did an article about him and talked about his collection, which made people come out to visit the island in throngs to see this, like, makeshift museum.
That's funny.
And, like, it got so bad that he started charging a dime per visitor just to keep the crowds down because there's too many people coming. And I'm like, what the hell?
I mean, can you blame him, though?
No. I mean, take advantage. I'd be like, quarter, damn it. Give me a quarter. But also included in his collection was a stuffed monkey.
What?
And apparently someone had asked him if he had shot it. Like, is this, and he said, no. But, quote, I've seen little monkeys on this island that I should like to shoot. What the fuck?
What?
I don't know. I'm like, is he crazy? Is he hallucinating? Is he talking about, like, people? I don't understand. I'm creeped out by it.
I know. That's like, no, sir. No. Wrong. Ew. What?
And creepily, a lot of the birds in his collection were ones that he found dead after flying into the lantern glass on the tower.
No.
And he said that one morning he found 275 dead birds around the lighthouse. And I'm like, I'm sorry. That's an omen of bad shit. Like, that's not just
God.
a la la la.
No.
Like, one doing it, a couple, fine. 275? Like, you need to be getting some salt. You need to be saging the shit out of that place. I know. I saw that movie. I don't want to.
I saw that movie. I don't want to do that. No, thanks.
Ugh. It wasn't all bad, though. In 1926, Elson Small and his family were there, and his wife, Connie, later wrote a book called The Lighthouse Keeper's Wife, detailing their time on the little island, in which she recalled spirited sing-alongs and wrestling matches between the keepers and visiting work crews. Apparently, spirited sing-alongs. Elson apparently played the banjo, accordion, guitar, and harmonica, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And Connie played piano. And a visiting crew that was there to work on the island for various things included a carpenter who played the fiddle. And so there was a time when a guy named Fred came to help repair the evil fog signal of death. And apparently he had a fine baritone singing voice. And so they all played and sang and danced and had a grand old time. And the daughters danced the Charleston while they were all fiddling and whatever. And I'm like, well, that sounds pleasant, I think. But,
well, as long as they had fun. That's all that matters.
But all that aside, it's haunted. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it.
Right.
So,
well, yeah, I mean, it has to be haunted if all those birds died.
Right?
Something's going on there.
It just, you can't pay me to be on that island. That's a lot of birds that have killed themselves. Like, no. But so, in one story that I couldn't find names for, so whatever.
Right. Mm-hmm.
One of the lighthouse keeper's wife had, I don't know, maybe she had gone a little stir crazy, or maybe she just wanted to drive her husband crazy, or maybe she was pissed at him. I don't know. But she kept playing the same tune over and over and over on the piano, driving him insane.
Oh, no.
Just would never stop. And eventually he lost his goddamn mind, took an axe and destroyed the piano.
Oh no.
Then killed his wife. And then killed himself.
Oh my gosh.
So like that went bad very quickly. And people say that on calm nights you can still hear piano music playing.
Ew,
and I'm like, oh, gross.
No.
Gross. The Coast Guard ended up taking over the lighthouse at some point. It became part of their life.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The Coast Guard claim that there is a ghost of a young girl who runs and plays and is laughing on the island, especially in the house, but they see her on the island. And she is supposedly the daughter of one of the keepers who had died of a normal, like nothing super tragic, just, got sick and died. But they see her and they hear her, and I hate that. I hate that. Keepers who stayed there over the years often would complain about doors opening and closing on their own, which I hate.
Nope.
And mysterious coughing. You would hear someone coughing and you're like, there's nobody else here but me, and I'm not coughing. And that's a very distinct sound.
Footsteps are bad enough.
Right.
But somebody coughing?
Yeah.
That's no.
Because you can at least be like, well, it's just creaking. Because
with footsteps, you're like,
the wind, the house, it's cold, it's hot, it's expanding. Fine.
Yeah. The house is settling, it's popping, whatever.
I'm just thinking that it's footstepish sounds. But like a cough is a cough. And you're like,
And you're like, somebody is here. Oh, I would die.
Mm-hmm.
Like sitting in my house and so hear somebody cough, I'd be like, no, I'm getting in my car and I'm leaving now. I don't even care.
Absolutely not. No, thank you. Don't
not even putting my shoes on. I'm running outside barefoot. I'm grabbing my keys and I'm going.
Can you imagine, like, you're sitting there, maybe, in my mind, you're sitting there reading a book in front of a fire, kind of enjoying just a quiet evening, and then all of a sudden you just hear a nice cough sound, and you're just like,
mm-mm. Nope.
If you don't set the house on fire and leave, I don't know what you're doing.
Right.
I mean, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly. No. Just like that. Just a cough, and you're like, no.
Somebody is in my house.
Somebody's in my house.
No.
Okay. The tramway that I mentioned that they built to help move all those nice heavy supplies up was a bit dangerous as well. One keeper was riding it up the hill with his wife and kids because it sounds like fun. I'd do that too. Who wants to walk up the hill when you can just ride?
I get that. Yeah.
But it loosed itself and started tumbling backwards.
Ooh, no.
He managed to jump out with one kid, the baby, that's like 18 months. And his wife managed to toss out their other child, but she didn't make it out.
Oh, no.
So, like, that's danger and scary. It also, the tramway was also blamed in the death of a dog. Like, the family dog got hit or run over by it. I'm like, oh my God.
That's sad.
So, saved the best for last, as always.
Yes.
In 1985, the lighthouse was fully automated so that it no longer required having a keeper stay on the island. And a Coast Guard crew, because at that point they were the ones who oversaw it, was sent to remove the furniture and what stuff that was left there from the house. And so they spent the day kind of packing stuff up. But since it was getting late, they decided to just stay the night, finish everything in the morning. And that night, the officer in charge was suddenly awoken by a figure standing in front of him pleading, "Don't take the furniture. Please leave my home alone." Blah.
Ooh.
Blah.
No thanks.
But, he didn't let that deter him from his job. And so the next day, they loaded everything up in the boat and they were getting ready to leave when the chain holding the boat broke. The engine on the boat stopped, and then the boat sank with all of the furniture on board.
Stop. Oh. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was like, listen, dicks, I told you, leave my furniture alone.
Leave my furniture alone. That's mine. So that is the story of Seguin Island Lighthouse. It is now owned by the Friends of Seguin Island, and I think you can still visit it now. You can take your own boat out to go visit it, but
nice.
It still has a lighthouse. I think they were going to put solar panel whatever on it so that way it could function without requiring any additional energy source. So there you go. Creepy island off the coast of Maine filled with ghosts and creatures who cough. Ooh.
Ew.
Sink your boat if you put their furniture on it. Don't be doing that.
Right.
Shit,
Don't take their furniture, man. No, don't take the furniture.
I know, right? The piano thing creeps me out. I love piano music, but like there's something very eerie about hearing certain piano music lightly and you're like, no one's there. Ghost playing a piano. There's not even a piano there anymore and you're hearing piano music. I'm like, no, pass. Pass.
Right.
So there you have it. Ta-da.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. All right, Claire. What are you judging this week?
It's been a week. I could judge so many things, but I'm only going to do two. First short one is we had a delivery this past week. It was a giant high-rise sign. I can't remember how big he said it was. It was big.
Mm-hmm.
It was giant. I have a picture of it. Anyway, the guy comes in, the truck driver, and I get up. I was in the middle of something, and so I ran the corner and I was like, "Hi, can I help you?" And he was like, "I have a delivery." And so I said, "Well, the guys are out back. I said, if you just pull straight back, they'll meet you back there and you can get started offloading it. And then he says, can I use the bathroom? I've been on the road, blah, blah, blah. Well, somebody else was in the bathroom up front. And I just kind of looked back and I was like, and I was like, well, yeah, come on. And I'll let you in. And because I usually would just let him use the bathroom up front. But I was like, yeah, so I led him through the shop to the mid shop to the guys' bathroom. It's not like we have men's and women's bathrooms.
It's like front shop versus back shop. I understand.
Yeah, it's in the guy's office. I mean, we can use that bathroom if we have to, but so I was like, here it is, and I like walked outside and two of the guys were outside and I said, hey, truck driver's using the bathroom. He'll be out in a minute. And I walked back up front. End of story for how I dealt with that. Okay. Like 2 days later, because I think that was on Monday. Yeah. And I think on Wednesday, one of the guys came up and he called him. He goes, hey, old snaggletooth truck driver complained about you on Monday. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, he complained about you. He said you were rude to him. And I was like, rude? How was I rude? And he said, he said, you acted like you didn't want to wait on him. And I was like, what? And I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. And he said, yeah, he said she acted like she didn't want to talk to me. And I was like, oh my what the God. Hell is this guy fucking talking about? I was like, I just was, I said, granted, I wasn't like sunshine and fucking rainbows, but, I said, I was just like normal, I mean, I was kind of plain, but I wasn't.
You weren't super rude. Excited to see him because he's just some guy delivering a sign. I mean, like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to be like, hi, how may I help you? Like, no.
Claire,
no.
Claire,
no.
Were you not smiling?
No, I wasn't.
Do you know?
I was not.
You would look so much just prettier my plain if you face. Just smiled.
I wasn't. Yeah, I know. I was my plain face. I'm sorry that my RBF pissed you off. Because when you're just plain face, that's your RBF. I wasn't even like grimacing or like giving him the stink eye. It was just plain face. Like, hi, can I help you? Or like, what can I do for you? Like, sorry, I wasn't pleasant enough to like suit you, sir. Whatever. Because I was like, I told Chris, I was like, I can show him fucking rude if he wants rude.
Yeah.
I said, I can go and act like one of those servers at Dick's Last Resort if he really wanted me to. It was like, damn it. Gosh. And Chris was like, he said, I knew you weren't rude. Because I'm like, not like deal with truck drivers all the time. It's just like, what can I do for you? It's like, I've got delivery. I'm like, okay, hang on just a second. And I find out where the guys are, or if they're not here, then it's like we have to call somebody,
right,
to help them offload it, or we'll be like, how much is it? But we knew this, and also this guy was like 2.5 hours late getting here.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be there around noon. And this was like 2:30. So plus, I had to listen to my boss bitch about this guy being late because my boss was hungry and he wanted to go get lunch. And he was like, I know the second I leave, this guy's going to show up. And sure enough, he was like, fuck it, I'm going to go get lunch. And then it was like 10 minutes later, this guy showed up and it was like,
That's how it always works.
Yep. But it was just like, it just kind of like pissed me off that this guy was like complaining to my coworkers about me being rude. And it was like, act like I didn't want to wait on you. Like if I act, whatever. I don't even know. Anyway, that was my one judge. My second judge. I've been to so many doctor's appointments this week. It's been ridiculous. One of them was the dermatologist, which, okay, guys, it's February. I made this appointment back in September.
Wow.
Because that's what it is when you're a new patient with them.
Wow.
You just can't get in. And granted, it was like just for, because, turning 40 and it's like, you need to get a PCP. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And so I did. I found one and, talking over just like general health stuff, and she was like talking about skin stuff. And I'm like, well, my mom's always constantly telling me you've got some stuff on your back you might want to look at, got some like sort of mole looking things. I'm a freckly person. I'm pale and I go out in the sun and I burn. That's really, I don't tan, I burn. And so she looked at those, and then I don't even know how we got on the topic, but I just started talking about it. I was like, yeah, I'm just a sweaty person. And she was like, tell me more about the sweating. So she thought, this is the general practitioner, thought that she's like, sounds like you have this condition called hyperhidrosis. I had never heard of it. I didn't know it was a thing. Apparently, excessive sweating is a thing. Anyway, so there were a couple things, plus the hyperhidrosis possibility. She's like, I'm going to refer you to the dermatologist just to check out. Nothing serious, okay? So, yeah, made this appointment back in September. Well, now February's here, and I get to go to the dermatologist. Hooray. So I go in, and the little chick who's like, I guess just getting all the general information, she was super nice. She seemed like she listened, and she was like, because you have to like write all the reasons why you're down. And so she's like, there's like a bump on my arm and the place on my back, and then I'm telling her about the stuff. She's like, okay, well, I'll go get the doctor, have her come in, blah blah blah. So the doctor comes in, and she's a PAC. I don't even know. She's not like the dermatologist, but whatever. She comes in. The whole time, she just seems very disinterested in what I'm saying. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's the vibe I'm getting. Like, she just almost like she doesn't give a shit. So I tell her about the bump on my arm, and she's like, well, that I can't remember what she called it, but she's like, yeah, it's like a scar. And I'm like, a scar? Like, I didn't cut myself there. It started out as what it looked like a zit, but now it just keeps growing, and it's hard. And I was like, is this like a wart? But anyway, she's like, well, because it's getting bigger, we need to have it removed. So I'm going to have a little small surgical procedure to get this thing off my arm. So hooray. But then she saw the spot on my back, and she was like, yeah, that looks abnormal. I'm going to shave off a piece of that. We'll biopsy it, blah, blah, blah. So then I started telling her about the hyperhidrosis stuff, possibility, like how I was talking about with my doctor, and the excessive sweating, and, how, and what it is, it's like, I can do the little, and you
I know it.
She's seen me. She can attest to this. I can do the littlest thing. Like, I'm not even like heavy breathing. And I just start sweating profusely from my face. It's mostly my face and my chest and my back, just dripping. And sometimes, and she asked me at one point, she goes, well, does it bother you? Yeah. And I said, well, sometimes it's embarrassing. I said, because I'll suddenly just have a ring of sweat around the collar of my shirt. And I said, at my one job, it really doesn't matter because I get kind of grungy over there anyway. I said, but I work at a retail store at my other job. And when that happens, I said, because you're supposed to look nice and wear makeup and semi be dressy for that sometimes. And it's embarrassing because I can't wear makeup over there half the time because I just sweat it off.
Right.
It's like, what's the point? Or I'm having to like go buy all this super waterproof makeup that's probably terrible for you.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I like buy stock in like waterproof mascara, because if I don't, it's just like running down my face, right. And so she's telling me about the medications, and she said, well, we probably wouldn't give you like topical medication because usually that's reserved for people who experience it in their underarms, their hands, or their feet.
Okay.
Which I really don't have that. Maybe in my underarms, but definitely not my hands and my feet. Not a problem there. She said, we would probably give you a pill, and I can't remember the name of it. It started with an R. So she's explaining to me that if they were to put me on this medication, they would need to monitor me. Like, I would have to come in for blood tests and all this because they need to like check my electrolytes because this particular medication could eventually keep me from sweating altogether.
Right.
And that's not good either. So while she's explaining this, I'm looking at her in the eye and I'm nodding and I'm going, okay. And I go, right. And she stops abruptly and she goes, right, what? And I was like, I just kind of like stopped and like kind of like jerked back a little bit. I just said, well, no, that I'm just saying, right, that I understand why not sweating is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand that sweating is what cools you off, and that not sweating can also be bad.
It's like I'm following on the conversation and agreeing
like,
with what you're saying. Okay,
I'm just
right.
I'm being an active listener. Excuse me. Like, I'm not stupid. I know what sweating does. But also, with my experience, excessive sweating can also be bad.
Yeah.
Because my brother, when he played ball, he had like heart palpitations, and they found out he was sweating too much, and they were like, you're losing too much salt and stuff in your body. You need to drink Gatorade. You need to take a salt tablet before you play. Like, he was sweating too much. And I mean, and then like I went on a cruise back in October and I had a thing where we went to Tulum, and it was so hot, and I was sweating so much. I've never experienced this before. I don't know if I was like borderline having a heat stroke. We were not doing anything strenuous. We were just walking. Okay. It wasn't like we were hiking or we were literally walking, and I was sweating so much. I got sick. I got some kind of heat sickness. And so I was going to tell her about my brother having that issue, about this thing in Tulum just recently with the sweating. And I didn't even tell her about that because I didn't want to, because she was just so off-putting. It was like, I was like, no, I'm not even gonna like, I just kind of quit talking at that point. And then she asked me, it was like, and I was telling the girl I was working with last night at my retail job about it. And I said, and here's what I was telling her. I said, she didn't say it. I said, but I was getting the vibe. And then Lauren cut me off and she goes, what? That you wouldn't sweat so much if you weren't so heavy. And I go, exactly. I didn't even have to say it to Lauren. Lauren knew exactly what I was talking about. And that was the vibe I was getting, is that she was putting off. It's like, the reason you sweat so much is because you're heavy. And that's exactly what I was getting from her. And I didn't like it. I did not like it at all. And that's why I was just kind of like, I'm just going to shut up now. And so then she asked me, she goes, are you being treated for any other medical condition? And I said, well, I'm seeing a weight loss doctor. And I said, high blood pressure. And she goes, that's not what I'm talking about. And I said,
what do you want from me, bitch?
Yeah. So I said, and I thought about it for a second, and I was like, I wonder if she's thinking diabetes. But I'm not being treated for diabetes. I've never been diagnosed as diabetic. Granted, I'm on the Ozempic because I was pre-diabetic, but I'm not actually diabetic.
Right.
So, because I wrote all that down. They asked all the medications I'm on. And so, and I looked at her and I said, she was like, any other like health issues? And I was like, well, nothing other than being overweight and high blood pressure. I said, other than that, I'm perfectly healthy. And then she asked me again, she goes, are you sure? And I'm just like,
what
bitch.
The fuck?
Yeah. I was just like, this was one of the worst doctor's appointments I have ever had. I mean, granted, I know other doctors can be like sugary sweet condescending, but this bitch was not. I mean, it was awful. And they did she did take a spot off my back, and I didn't even know they had done it. Like, it was one of those things, like, she was talking to me and it was like, she was like, okay, because the girl like numbed it. And I mean, I felt the needle go in, and she's like, you're gonna feel a burn. I never felt a burn. Like, I felt the little prick, and that was it. And then I didn't even know that it had been done, and they'd even stuck a Band-Aid on my back.
Oh my God.
I didn't even know. And finally they're like, okay, you can put your shirt back on. And I'm like, oh, they did it. I didn't even know they'd done it. Like, shit.
That's impressive.
Yeah, didn't even know that they had done it. I was like, oh shit. So the lidocaine worked, hooray. But it was just, everything else about that appointment was.
You really should like do a Yelp or a review or something.
Well, I got a text that was like, thank you for visiting whatever her name is. Leave a review, a Google review. And I put 3 stars, but then I wrote, and I said at the bottom, I said, the only reason I'm giving 3 stars is because she's very knowledgeable. And I wrote everything out. It was like, and I didn't like put it in there because it's hard to explain as far as like she gave off the vibe that she's treating me this way because I'm heavy, but I did put in there that she asked me 3 times if I was being treated for anything else. And it's like, it was almost like I did put, it was like she was trying to catch me in a lie, like what? And that almost like she didn't want to treat me because of something else. I did put that in there, but I did explain like all this other stuff about how she was very abrasive and very off-putting, and the whole time made me feel really uncomfortable, and how she just had this very laissez-faire attitude, and that I was wasting her time. I did put that in there. But at the end, I'm giving her 3 stars because she did seem very knowledgeable, and she knew what she was talking about, and she did remove a spot off my back, and I didn't even feel it. Yeah. So I did put that in there. I will give her that. But it was just, the whole thing was just, oh my, like, that is one of the worst doctor's appointments.
That sounds awful. Like
I know I've bitched to you about all the times I've gone to the gynecologist, and it's always been, well, you just need to like eat less and work out more, and that's frustrating in its own right. But this was just damn near like, I don't even have words
when you
for
don't
it.
even
It's
feel like you
like,
can tell them what's really going on, to be like, here's the family history, and that it's a problem in my family, and I've already had some problems. Like, I can't even feel comfortable telling you that. That's a huge red flag.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't come here for like my own health, okay? Like, my doctor made this referral,
Yeah, it's like, my doctor decided that it was important I come here. Not, I asked to come here.
And she's the one who like dropped the whole hyperhidrosis thing. I didn't even know. It's not like I've been on Google,
right?
Looking at shit up on WebMD, just pulling, these words out of my ass. It's not like that. So it's like, she's the one who said, I think you might have this. And she pulled it up on her little iPad because, they've got all their stuff there. Like, it wasn't, that they're, what is it? They're, what are the words? Words are hard today.
They are. Yeah,
Words are hard today. But they have their, anything that they can look up on their iPad. But she pulled up like all these symptoms, and she was asking me, and she was like, well, is it this? Do you have this? I mean, and I had multiple, more than half of what she was asking, and she said, I think it might be this, she said, it might be. She said, it sounds like it. Because, it's like, to have something, it's not like you have to have all of the things.
Right.
But I had a lot of the symptoms for this hyperhidrosis. And she was like, yeah, she said, that sounds like it might be this. So she said, she said, with the spots on your back and the thing on your arm, she said, I'm going to go ahead and make this referral. So that's why I went. It wasn't like, I'm just like a hypochondriac looking for attention.
But even if you are a hypochondriac looking for attention, the doctor is supposed to talk with you and hear what you have to say and address your concerns. Like, they're not supposed to be condescending. They're not supposed to make you feel unheard. They're not supposed to call you a liar. So, like,
and she never, like I said, she never said it was because of my weight. That was the vibe I was getting.
Yeah.
And then the whole, like, are you being treated for anything else? And when I was telling Lauren about that, Lauren, and I didn't even say it, I said, she asked me, are you being treated for anything else? And Lauren goes, yeah, like what, diabetes? And I said, I thought the same thing. Like, that ran through my mind. Like, I didn't even have to say it to Lauren, because Lauren has struggled with her weight, and she's had her own health issues, and she knows that struggle. So she's been there. So she knew without me even having to like say anything.
Yeah.
She knew exactly what was going on. So it's like, you're right there with me. You understand, and that was just, it really was like one of the worst medical appointments I have had in my entire life. I was just like,
that sucks so much. And I'm glad that you were able to like leave a Google review, and that you could say all that and write it out, because they need to know that is what she did, that she made you feel uncomfortable, that all those things happened. So
yeah, I was like, she was aggressive, and I did say, I was like, her bedside manner is severely lacking. I did say that. I was just like, gosh, it was just, and I don't want I don't want a doctor to like come in and sugarcoat shit.
No.
Like, I don't mind somebody who's straightforward, but she was just like, I've never
So
been treated like that.
do you have to go back?
Yeah, I've got an appointment to go back and well, they're going to call me about
the results of the stuff, right?
The results of the little sample they cut off of me. But yeah, I have to go back and get that bump on my arm removed.
Oh,
but
right.
She's not the one who's doing it. It's actually one of the dermatologists who's
Good.
doing the minor surgical procedure.
Right.
Like, I think it's just like local anesthetic on the spot.
I'm sure it's not more different than getting the implant thing. So
no, it's probably, I mean, maybe something a little bit more than lidocaine than what they, but they're going to cut it out, I guess. So, but yeah, I've got to do that. I can't remember what day it was. I have so many doctor's appointments set up in the next month and a half, 2 months. It's like, I don't even know.
You poor thing.
It's just, yeah, I have so many. But yeah, that was my second judge, which was a little bit longer, and I apologize for taking so much time.
No,
I had to explain it, but
that's important. I mean,
it was just
because it's the reality of what people deal with, and it's different situations, different people have different experiences. It's definitely a real problem in people who are overweight and how they experience healthcare. It's also a problem for women and how they experience healthcare, or people who have mental health, whatever, and they're on any kind of a drug. Everything is like, oh, well, it's because, you're unstable. So like, there's so many things where groups are ostracized and have horrible experiences that it's important to talk about, I think.
Well, and it's funny because I get these emails in my inbox like every day from the Skim, and in it, they'll have like other articles that are related to like the topics or they're talking about in that particular email. And one of the articles was talking about how men have ruined women's healthcare, basically, and how anytime, it wasn't until like probably 70s, 80s, 90s, anytime they did a study on anything, women were never included.
Yeah.
And that's with any kind of like trial, drug trial, anything. And even then, like when they started including women were not like the bulk of it. They weren't even half of it. It was just like minor roles. And it's just basically how women are viewed as walking wombs, and how they didn't want to include women because they didn't want to jeopardize our ability to bear children. And I'm like, that should be the woman's choice, not your choice. And how everything, and it's like, this is the tale as old as time, I swear. But basically how even back in the day when even what was it, Aristotle apparently had a quote where it was basically saying that women were just mutilated men.
Yeah.
And back when they started drawing sketches and anatomy books, that they started out when they were drawing skeletons, that they would present women with wider hips and smaller skulls to say like, oh, look at them, their brains are not as big as men's, but they've got they've got the wider hips. And this was in the Guardian. This was an article in the Guardian that I was reading, and I was like reading it the other morning while laying in bed before I got up, and I was just getting madder and madder. And this was this last week, so this probably did not help my mood for anything else that would happen last week, because last week was a week. But it was just, I'm reading it, I'm like, God, it's just everything is so awful about being a woman sometimes. It's like, really, it was such a struggle.
What's so infuriating is that it's stuff that has been so inherent in just life for hundreds, thousands of years that, like, yeah, we're getting better and whatever, but we can't change it. That is where so much of our information and our learning came from. You can't undo that. And so, like, it's so fucking frustrating, especially when my favorite thing to remind everyone is that, the difference between whether you are born assigned boy or girl, however, is half of a chromosome. All the chromosomes are X's, every single one, unless you're a boy and your last chromosome is half of an X. It's not a Y. It's literally just half. So, like, in my mind, if we were going to choose the one that is mutilated and fucked up, you choose the one that's not complete. So, like, hello.
Right. Right.
It's exhausting.
But it was just like talking about how in that article, how it was like early scientists were like, the only difference between men and women is this. And it was basically that women can bear babies. And it was never looked into anything other than that.
Mm-hmm.
And how, now it's like, oh my God, there are so many more differences in how women present when they have heart attacks. It's completely different than how men present when they have heart attacks. So it's like, yeah, we're learning, but it's like, we should have been learning this a long time ago. Somebody should have looked into this. There's how women react to drugs is going to be different than how men react to drugs. And they need to be included in those trials and in those studies. And
absolutely.
But, and how it was just, we're just considered walking wombs and child bearers. And that was the gist of the article. And I was like, heavy sigh. It's just, when it comes to being a woman with medicine and science, it's just a shit show.
It really truly
of the
is.
most epic proportions. Sometimes it really is. Anyway, I digress. That was really long, and I'm sorry.
That is okay. That is okay, and really good. And in fact, it leads into one of the things I was going to bring up for my judge.
Oh, okay, good, yay!
Very ironically, at the very end there, you're talking about women and heart attacks and how we're different. I read this week that there have been studies and that they realize that PMS, which by the way, like 90% of women experience levels of PMS.
Yeah.
So God forbid we bother doing any research on that at all. And let's focus all on the, erectile dysfunction of like the 13% of men. Like, good. I'm glad that we understand fractions and percentages because like, fuck women. But like, I personally love, mostly it's TikTok videos that I've seen it. It's in other places. The little machine where they can like attach electrodes to mimic what PMS feels like.
Yes,
and they always have like a couple, and it's a girl and a guy, and the girl is always like, "No, mine are." Yeah, and they're getting higher. Like, yeah, this is what mine feel like, and the guy is like in misery. Like, he's like, "This is just what you experience all the time." It's like, yeah, not a big deal to us because we just have to. And
yeah, we just deal with it.
We just have to. Like, we can take some ibuprofen or whatever, but like, it still fucking hurts, And recently, they've determined that the level of pain and discomfort that you can feel with PMS is equivalent to how it feels to have a heart attack, which is why women suck at being able to tell when they're having a heart attack, because by God, it doesn't really feel like a whole lot. So we do have different symptoms and things that we look out for, but also we ignore it because we're used to being in pain because no one has ever given a fucking shit about us. Right.
It's like we just do everything through the PMS symptoms. We just take an ibuprofen, move on, we go to work. Yeah. I'm not a mom, but if you are a mom, you continue to mom, you continue to take care of the kids, you continue to go to the grocery, you continue to do this, that, and the other. You continue to do the things because you have to. Well, and like, because who else is going to do it?
This week, I have had the worst sinusy migraine that has that it's not like a one and done. Like it was like 2-3 days long, and I was continuing to work. And Spencer would be like, "You just need to take a break from screens." I'm like, I work from home. There's no break from screens. So like, I modified things. I turned lights out, and like I had my blue light blocking glasses that I love
to like help with that.
But like I would change tasks between things that I'm like actively focused on to doing like watching some video because I'm still new, so I'm learning a lot. So I watch old essentially Zoom meetings, and then I watch some stuff on YouTube to better understand. I'm in the land of data science now, and it's new to me, so I'm trying to learn and get it all put together. And so, like, I'm doing that so that I'm still working and being productive, all while I am in like legitimate pain and misery. Because that's just what you fucking do when you're a woman, because that's just what life is. Because no one gives a flying fuck. But so that was one of my judges, is that I read that and I was like, it's a miracle that women outlive men as a general rule, because literally no one is looking out for us.
No. I saw one of those TikToks and it was like some army guys. They had hooked up to one of those to like mimic.
I love it. I want it so bad to make every guy have to experience it. They're like, oh,
and
shit.
They had it. And one of the women was like, there was 2 or 3 women, and they're like, okay, so this is a 6, and this is what so-and-so says hers feel like. And that guy was like, oh my God. And then he was like, this is an 8, and this is what this one says hers feel like. And he was like, and then she's like, and the one who was doing it was like, I have endometriosis. And she's like, and mine is a 10, which was like the highest it went or whatever. And she's like, and this is what mine feel like. And he was like, oh my God. And he was like, he's like, I'd be calling into work. And she's like, but you can't.
You can't.
He's like, she's like, you're not allowed to just call in and say, I have my period and I can't come in. And he's like, oh, he's like almost in tears, screaming, She's like, but you can't just call in and say, I'm on my period. I can't come into work. It's like, you can't do that once a month. She's like, you can't just call out of work once a month, like to say I can't come in because of like, let me laugh in your face, sir, please.
It's like, I'm sorry. It's like, I still function. I drive. I take care of children. I cook meals. Those are all the things that people just do because they have to.
Right. And you're just like babies. That's why they call it man flu.
But
because there's normal flu, then there's man flu.
But yeah, so that was definitely my judge. My other one, short and sweet, in the midst of all that this week, because I have been watching some older meeting recordings, which I had done previously, because that's watching them do demonstrations of our platform helps me better understand it. And we are all remote, and we use Teams as our primary form of communication. And here is me telling you the Microsoft Teams is a piece of fucking shit. And I hate Microsoft. And I hope they go down in fiery flames and burn in hell. Because, if you are idle for 5 minutes, it changes your available to away. Which, whatever. I get it. There is sort of a, the point is to be able to tell if someone is available to chat or whatever.
Right.
But I didn't pay attention to that until I realized as I'm watching company videos that if I'm not moving my mouse because I'm watching a video, then it's going idle and saying I'm not there. And I'm like, what the actual fuck, Teams? I'm literally at my computer. There's stuff running. What the fuck? So,
ooh, that's a flaw.
I know. And I'm fine. My company is not insane about stuff or whatever. I'm not concerned about me specifically, but I'm like, what the fuck? Do you know how many people are using this and how many are getting fucked over? And so I Googled because I can't change it. There's no way for you to change the time. Because I was at least make it 15 minutes. Because fine, if I'm gone 15 minutes, you're right. I'm fucking not here anymore.
Right, yeah.
But 5 minutes is nothing. And there's no fix outside of downloading an app that makes your mouse move or hits a space bar or something insane. I'm like, what the hell? That's this annoying nonsense? I get it. There are people who are going to game the goddamn system to think so it looks like they're working when they're not. But
right.
I should be able to do work-related things that are me watching something, writing copious notes, by the way, because I'm a nerd. And I should, what the hell? It's I'm here. So that made me angry.
As it should, because that's annoying. I'm like, 5 minutes? That's
it's no time at all. It's no time at all. So very angry about it. Because I even will be in the middle of working on something and I'll stop and think. Because I'm creating new things that don't exist. And so I'm making decisions. And so I'll think about something. And maybe I do sit there and think for 5 minutes. I'm right here.
Right. You're like, I'm literally, I'm
really
watching. I'm just
working
like,
very hard right now.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm available. I'm constantly available. Stop it. So I was annoyed about it, but that's it.
That's a terrible flaw.
So fuck you, Microsoft Teams, and your overlord Big Brother bullshit. Like, come on.
That's
God
ridiculous.
Damn it. So hate that. But that's my judges.
I hate that for you too.
Thank you. It was very shitty, and I just randomly discovered it this week, so whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that means it must be time for
yes,
tarot time with April. A spooky. All right. What shall we ask the cards this week, Claire?
I don't know.
Oh, look at my clip. You know, I know that we sort of asked about winter previously because that was my thing. But like we had Groundhog Day this week.
We did.
And like I have concerns because we base everything off of Puxatawny Phil, which may be accurate for me now, but sure as fuck had nothing to do with my life when I lived on the West Coast.
Right. Because I saw something, I can't remember what zoo it was, but it was, they did a thing with a sloth. And if the sloth climbed out of the little hammock, then it was gonna be spring early, but if the sloth stayed in the hammock, it was gonna be 6 more weeks of winter, and the sloth stayed in the hammock, so it's 6 more. I'm like, what the hell kind of system is this?
So yeah, I'm just kind of like, whatever. Okay. So cards. We'll say specifically, Puxatawny Phil, does he speak for all of us, or does he speak only for like his little area? And like also I read that the groundhog in Kentucky died on Groundhog's Day. So I'm not sure if that's a bad omen all on its own about winter or what. So is there going to be an early spring, or is it going to stay winter forever? Because you may have also seen in the land of TikTok that 2020 and 2024 are the same years. Have you noticed? Have you seen that?
No.
So both are leap years. Both have early springs. Thank you, Groundhog. Both Super Bowls were the Chiefs and the 49ers.
Oh my God, no, I didn't think about that.
Both years were Biden-Trump presidential election garbage.
Ew.
And so people are like, 2020 was the year of COVID. What fucking shit's happening in 2024? I'm like, no.
Don't start.
So we have the Chariot.
Uh-oh.
And the Six of Cups. And finally, the Four of Pentacles. Are we ready for it? Never.
Yes.
We're never ready.
No, we're not.
Mostly because I don't remember how to find the Chariot. I don't see that one very often.
No, we don't.
The Tower, the moon, the sun. I guess I should like better mark my pages. Because like I just can't remember their order.
I get that.
Okay, come on. Is there like a guide? What page is this on? Because like I've flipped through several times now and I haven't found it.
Like, where is it?
It's like, hello? Oh, there it is. The Chariot.
I know we've had it.
All right. This card is about being in control. You've got this. You're confident, resourceful, and savvy. Oh, well, okay then. No obstacle is too big and no opponent is too strong. There's a lot of passion in this card. Is this about Puxatawny Phil? Is he strong?
He's in control.
Is he in control? I mean...
He's in control of the weather, apparently.
I mean, all right. That's fine. This in a reading, this card comes up when someone is recognizing their strength. So I guess Puxatawny Phil knows his shit. I mean, all right, sure. I'll give him that. Okay. The Six of Cups. So at least he is confident in what he thinks. Let's see. Oh, this is one that's sort of about magic. Interesting. Silliness, joy, radiating happiness, and nostalgia live here. Drinking out of the garden hose, leaving out cookies and milk, lifting your feet when you drive over railroad tracks. All of these things are a defense against the seemingly unending barrage of things that might bruise your soul. So I guess we should embrace the magic of Puxatawny Phil, I think is what it's telling us, Claire.
Okay.
But we have one more card. It's the Four of Pentacles. And this is about protecting what's yours. Let's see. This is interesting. If you give away all of your food and starve, what good was that? If you give your friends all your money and your electricity gets turned off, how are you doing good in this world? You have to be sure you are cared for before you can adequately care for others. Let's see. The most important thing you can ask yourself is, does it serve me? If not, it's time to find it a new home. If so, then hold tight to it. Don't give it up without a fight. So, like, I guess it's like, oh, you know, Puxatawny Phil knows his shit. And, like, we should trust in the magic of Puxatawny Phil. But also protect your shit. So be ready in case the early spring is a lie.
Gotcha.
Which feels fine. Whatever. Fine. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
What is going to be our topic for next week? Our Wheel of Fate. All right. Here goes nothing. It's
Oh,
aliens. Woo! That's fun. I enjoy some good aliens now and then. All right. That'll be fun. Well, be sure to join us next week as we talk aliens.
Yes.
But until then, you can find us in all the things and at all the places at
Brunch and Judge.
Please follow, like, comment, subscribe. And you can send us topics for our wheel or any stories you'd like for us to cover to us at
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
So until next time, keep on brunching.
And keep on judging.
And choose to haunt a lighthouse or not. Bye.
Bye.